Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
Yes, it's me, Egbert. As the new owner of this station, I want to make sure we have the best talent on the air. That's why I've decided to ban all real estate agents and only have real talkers like Brad and John. Here they are, B and J.
You know, I stand corrected. I stand corrected in two things from the last break, okay? It's not called Rock the House. It's called Knock Down the House. And it was 2019. And instead of 5 women, it's 4 women. The little trailer, little blog says, a young bartender in the Bronx, a coal miner's daughter in West Virginia, a grieving mother in Nevada, and a registered nurse in Missouri build a movement of insurgent candidates. So it's 4 women. And like I said, I believe the only one that won was AOC. Cori Bush.
AOC, yeah. And with a line like a bartender in the Bronx.
Yes.
Like, if that doesn't get men's minds running and thinking, maybe I should click on this.
Well, it does. You know, once again, I think there's a thing called, God, in our industry, I had a boss years ago. He used to always say, never let your show get too big for the room. Now, I don't know if you've been in too many radio studios, but radio studios are not big, monstrous studios like the Oprah show has, where they can bring cars in and things like that. Matter of fact, in most radio studios, it's probably the size of the average bedroom in the United States.
Like a 10 by 10. I think of like a radio studio as being like 10 by 10.
Not that big. And the idea being, my boss used to always say, never let your show get too big for the room. The idea being that you're a dude in a studio talking into a microphone, and don't think that you're curing cancer or anything like that. Right. And I believe some of that kicked in with AOC. That because when you watch the documentary, she's actually very likable.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt that she is.
Well,
for sure.
All of them are. And Cori Bush, Cori Bush is not the wacko that she turned out to be. I mean, very down to earth, talking about the fact she was a registered nurse, and
So do you think it's the age old tale of success goes to people's heads? And you can't answer both, Brad, because that's a pet peeve when I ask people a question and they say, well, the answer is both. So do you think it's that, or do you think that the environment has hardened her so much where she just appears to be callous?
I think both.
Okay, there you go.
No, I think it's just because of the fact that all of a sudden, it's there are people, like, for example, there are people that you come across in your life that are like bigger than life. And one of them for me was always Jack Buck, okay? But yet Jack Buck, I don't know if you know, had this reputation for being a very extravagant tipper. Did you know this story?
No, I don't know the story.
Jack Buck, I remember reading a story somewhere that his kids would always get upset with him, that Jack Buck always carried a pocket full of $100 bills. And
he would peel them off for the service staff, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Talked about, like, apparently back in the day, this is like, you have to be old to remember this. Back in the day, there were elevator operators. And back in the day, the old elevators were not automatic, so you just didn't get in and hit a button. There was somebody in there who actually had controls and would move the elevator up and down between floors, and there were like levers you had to pull.
That's annoying.
Get
them out of there.
Right, and stuff like that. Well, in some fancy schmancy places, they carried that over because of the fact that oh my God, we've got an elevator operator, and
we're supposed to appreciate that.
Right.
We're supposed to appreciate the inefficiency.
Right. In Busch Stadium 2, there was an elevator operator that took you up to the restaurant. Remember, they had the fancy schmancy restaurant at Busch Stadium 2?
Yeah.
And Jack Buck would routinely tip the elevator operator $100 for taking him from the ground floor up to level 4 where the restaurant was, or whatever, stuff like that. And anyway, very much down to earth kind of guy. Then there are buttheads who are like, like, for example, you see the videos on. There's one of my favorite videos to watch. If you watch the videos, if you watch the shorts videos on YouTube, where the cops with their body cameras.
Oh yeah, I love those videos.
Pull somebody over, and the person says, "Do you know who I am?"
The whole "Do you know who I am?" Yeah,
right. Which is, once again, having worked for a police department and hearing the cops talk about this. That was essentially game on for them, you know.
I can imagine.
That was like.
I mean, you if you go back real quick, if you go back to Cori Bush, there are people that I'm not friends with, but that are loose acquaintances or friends of friends who insist that pre-fame Cori Bush helped them out a lot personally, or was kind to them personally, and I believe every word of those.
Well,
stories.
like I said, she comes off in the. I have to watch this again. I don't know. You know, this is. Can I be honest with you? I'm going to sound really old school when I say this. Mm-hmm. This is what I don't like about streaming, because back in the day, if you went and you bought like the CD, like in audio, or if you bought the DVD, like in video, you owned it. And if
you had it forever.
Right. And on a Tuesday morning at 2 o'clock in the morning, if you can't sleep and you decide, I'm going to watch Ocean's 11, and you go into your room where your TV set, you pop it in and you watch Ocean's 11. The problem nowadays is if you go to a streaming channel that has Ocean's 11, first off, it may not even be available anymore. And second off, if it is available, they're going to charge you $5.99 to watch the stupid thing. Okay. Yeah. And there's a certain thing in me that's like, I don't like that. But see, to the point, a lot of the stuff you can't get anymore. I mean, you can't get. I mean, it's interesting. If you go on Amazon, you can get DVDs of a lot of things. And it's sort of surprising the things you can still get on DVD from Amazon. But once again, to me, you buy it, you own it, you hold it, you can use it when you want to. You know, you don't have to pay a subscription fee or anything like that. It's yours to keep forever and ever and ever until the media degrades, which, you know, who knows? I don't know about DVDs, but I can tell you interesting stories about audio tape, but that's a whole other story. Okay, how do we get talking about that?
We were talking about Cori Bush. And we were talking about her. We were just, in general, talking about the movie and talking about whether power corrupts or whether people just harden themselves to constant criticism. You have a lot of John Combest out there that every time there is a wacky picture of Cori Bush, I'm going to make it a punchline. So if you have that happen thousands of times, every year around the country, do you simply harden yourself enough that you surround yourself with people that tell you yes or tell you they love you? By the way, the other interesting thing is that Cori Bush's campaign, according to the Post-Dispatch, is $130,000 in debt.
Yeah, she has no money in the bank.
And she has technically 20 grand on hand, but 130 in debt. So if you're a Democratic operative, so here's the way I look at it, Brad, from like a secondary perspective, and this might sound like inside baseball, but it's relevant. If you're Cori Bush and you're facing a primary challenge from a reputable candidate like a Wesley Bell, and you want to attract some top talent, if you're a Democratic campaign operative or you're a fundraiser, do you look at a Cori Bush campaign and say, well, she's got no money, might not be able to raise money, or do we go raise some easy money for somebody like a Crystal Quaid who's going to lose, but we know she's going to pay us, or we can work for state legislative candidates who are going to lose, but we know they're going to pay us, or do you do a passion project and work for Cori and not get paid?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I still think she's going to win. Can I be honest with you? I think that I think that if she bought no advertising and she wasn't on any TV, on any radio, if she spent zero, I think she's still going to win.
You think her base is that loyal?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's like, that North County. See, the interesting thing about that was that the North County thing, I think that's what happened. You saw it with two different things. You saw it with Lacey Clay, and you saw it with Bob McCullough. Bob McCullough just got to the point where, hey, I'm Bob McCullough. Everybody loves me. I'm just going to be, I'm going to retire from this job. I want to work till I die as the prosecuting attorney in St. Louis County. The last race, he just didn't really put his heart into it because he thought it was a slam dunk. He thought, I can just keep doing this. And I think that's what happened to Lacey Clay. He just got to the point where, like, hey, my dad's.
Everybody knows our name.
Right.
Everybody loves us. Yep. And I think I agree with you, Brad. And then I also think at a certain point, and you could apply this to let's talk about some modern campaigns. So if you look at like a Dean Plocker who's still running for lieutenant governor now, if you're I'm not saying Dean's doing this, but I think Clay did it and McCullough did it. If you look at the cast of people who have endorsed you or who you helped in the past, and you just assume that they're all precinct captains and they're all going to go out there and rally the troops like it's 1974 or something, and you assume that they're going to turn out the vote for you, you are sadly mistaken.
Well, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Okay, now, I teased something as we went into this.
The BFD.
The BFD, okay. This is what I do not like. I think this is very unfair. The Poplar Street Bridge was never really, that's not the real name of the Poplar Street Bridge. For a long time, when the bridge was first opened, and this was the bridge that brought 55 and 70 across the Mississippi River. That's changed now because technically 70 is now no longer on the Poplar Street Bridge. The official name of that bridge, do you know what the official name of it was?
Wasn't there was one bridge that was named like the People's Bridge or something, right?
Nope. This was named after a former mayor of the city of St. Louis. And
I give up. Cervantes.
We joked about it because we called it the BFD, Bernard F. Dickman Memorial Bridge.
Oh.
The Bernard, and see, nobody knew that, but we used to call it. My brother and I used to call.
People used to probably call you a Dickman all the time.
Right. Well, they called us BFD. That's what they could have. But it was Bernard F. Dickman Bridge until they renamed it the William Clay Bridge. Now, see, once again, how does the family of Bernard F. Dickman feel about the fact that maybe their father, their grandfather, their great-grandfather had a bridge named for him, and all of a sudden one day the bridge wasn't named after him anymore?
Hey, what happened to, formerly Easton Avenue? No longer Easton Avenue. What about Mr. Easton's family?
Right. There's all sorts of things like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, like.
And what did Pershing? Pershing was named Berlin, I guess, so that's a different case. They renamed that after World War II, I guess. I have a quick Bill Clay Sr. story. It'd probably take about 60 seconds.
Go.
I was visiting the Capitol as a high schooler for a school trip back in January of 1995. So we're going on 29 years now. We visited Bill Clay's district office. He wasn't there. He was so busy, whatever. And all of us kids are in there. And we were asked if any of us have ever volunteered on a campaign. So I raised my hand, and I was fresh off my first campaign, volunteering for Bill Clay's opponent, a guy named Don Counts, who got trounced in the general election by 30-plus points. Anyway, I raised my hand, and I said that I volunteered for Bill Clay's opponent, and then I asked why. And then, Brad, I unwisely launched into a diatribe about gerrymandering congressional districts and such. One of the aides left the room, and about 60 to 90 seconds later, who came into the room but Bill Clay? And he proceeded to dress me down in front of my peers. What was really painful, there was a class from St. Joseph's Academy, which was there with us lowly Hazelwood East kids. So, the congressman dressed me down about gerrymandering, and I had no idea what I was talking about and how racism was prevalent and how we needed people like him to fight gerrymandering. He said thanks, and he exited the room. So thanks to me, kids from Hazelwood East High School and St. Joseph's Academy got to hear from Bill Clay Sr.
Okay, so I've got a question. That begs for a question. You're telling me that somebody from Hazelwood East actually had a trip where you went to the Capitol in D.C.?
Yeah, it was called it's the Close-Up Program, and it exists to this day. Yeah, you get an opportunity. I mean, every district is wildly subsidized by some grant program, and you can apply. And if you I think you need to show some sort of interest in public policy. We had, I think, 4 kids from East went, a handful of kids from Clayton High School, and then a troop from St. Joseph's Academy. And it was wonderful. And I got to meet who at my time was one of my political heroes, Brad, the great Jesse Helms. I had the opportunity to meet Jesse Helms.
No, hold on a minute. You flew in a plane. Mm-hmm. You stayed in a hotel?
Yeah. It was all, I mean, we had chaperones. Like we had at least 1 or 2 teachers from our school.
I find that hard to believe, John. I mean,
well, it's true. I have the photos.
Were you running around the halls of the hotel, at 2:00 in the morning, where you stayed, stuff like that?
I was, yeah, and in fact, I was roomed with kids that were from a reform school from San Francisco. So the first few nights I slept with my wallet underneath my pillow. I was convinced I was going to get robbed.
What?
One of the kids was 16 and had a full back tattoo. Yeah, it was great, and I learned some key phrases there, which I can't repeat.
Well, now, hold it.
The FCC.
So you had like a room with like this, like a boarding room kind of thing, like
we had 2 beds, and so we had 4 kids in a room, and I was with a kid who shall remain nameless, who is involved in the periphery of Missouri politics, I would say, and then 2 kids that were from they were essentially juvenile delinquents that got the opportunity. I think they were in Pelosi's district, and they got the opportunity to come to the Capitol and hang out.
No. I got to stop here for a minute. 4 kids to a room, and there's 2 beds. Okay, let me think about this for a minute. Could that happen today?
Oh, absolutely not.
I was going to say what?
There would be no. Now there was a very strict rule that was enforced, which was boys could not be in girls' rooms and vice versa. And unfortunately, at the time, I don't think, no matter how hard I tried, I probably couldn't have gotten those St. Joseph's girls to speak to me. You know what I mean? I was more interested in speaking to Senator Nancy Kassebaum from Kansas and other political stars.
But St. Joe's Academy, they were upper crust, and you being a Hazelwood East guy, you were like scum of the earth.
I mean, the likelihood of landing a St. Joseph's girl for anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, almost.
That's good stock.
Almost as tough as Cori, right?
I would take St. Joseph's Academy, actually.
Okay. On that, I have to follow up on this. This is a fascinating thing you just.
Yeah, I have pictures. I'll text them to you, and we can talk about it. And of course, because I'm a borderline hoarder, Brad, I have every document from my DC trip.
You and Ed Goldman. Okay, say goodbye, John.
Bye, guys. See you tomorrow.
It's 7:59.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?